What is money laundering? Money laundering, you've heard about it in every single drug documentary, you've seen Netflix shows about it. To make a long story short, and to put it in layman's terms, it's taking illegal money, money that was earned through illegal means, and making it legal, or making it look legal. The only way to win as a drug dealer, or as any kind of criminal, is ultimately to quit, and to quit while you're ahead. It's like playing the casino. You gamble and you make as much money as you can, and you get up with your chips and you walk away. Because every single element of society, all the resources of the government are in place to stop you, and you are usually just one individual. So you've got no chance long term of staying out of prison when you are a high-level drug dealer. So the way you win is by stashing your money away. So when you do get arrested or you decide to quit, there will be something left over for you to pick up and go legit when you get out. So the way the big guys do it, the international drug cartels, the kingpins, the Colombians, the Mexican cartels, the Italian mafia, who is big players in the drug business, the 'Ndrangheta, the Calabrian mob out of southern Italy, they're the biggest drug importers in Europe. So they get their coke directly from Colombia and distribute it to the rest of Europe. So these guys are bringing in billions, literally billions of dollars a year in drug money. So how can you possibly clean all that money up? There's only so many laundromats you can buy, right? So they have armies of lawyers, accountants, they corrupt bankers and other finance people, and they create shell companies, and they use layers of different professional people, legitimate people, to bounce their money all over the world using wire transfers and phony businesses. And they move their money into countries where there are very lax money laundering laws. So the islands, Curacao, these obscure places in the Caribbean. Panama is a big one. We've all heard of the Panama Papers, that big scandal that Netflix did a documentary about a couple of years ago. It was about how the biggest banks, HSBC is the famous one, that huge international bank was fined billions of dollars because they were found to be colluding with drug traffickers to clean up and hide their money. London, England, is a huge money laundering capital, which surprises a lot of people because it's a first world European city, but that is one of the biggest places where Russian oligarchs hide their oil money and where drug traffickers go to hide their drug money. And everybody's in on it. I could go do a 2-hour episode about the way that the legitimate world colludes with the criminal world to hide and clean up money. But how does a guy like me, a middle-class drug dealer, right? A guy who's got a couple of $1,000,000 or even a couple $100,000, who's not connected to a big international drug cartel, who's basically just a small business. How does somebody like me go about laundering their money? Well, I had a few ways of doing it, and admittedly, I was not the most sophisticated with it. Obviously, a lot of my money got seized, and I did not have an opportunity to clean it up and invest it in ways that I wanted to. But a few of the methods were Las Vegas. I would give a couple of buddies $5,000 to $8,000 in cash, and we would fly to Vegas for the weekend, and we would go purchase chips in the casino. So if I gave a guy $8,000, he would go purchase $8,000 worth of chips, and he would maybe go gamble away 2,000 of it, right? And then he would take $6,000 worth of chips, or maybe he would win some, right? And I would let him keep whatever his winnings were, obviously. He would then go cash out the $8,000 worth of chips at the box office of the casino, and then he would give me the receipt and the check for it. And then I would actually go deposit this into my bank, and I would have a paper trail. Because the idea is you want to get your money into the bank. You want to have a paper trail. You want to be able to explain how you got this money and how you got it in a seemingly legitimate way. So that was one of the ways. Another big one for me was buying small ticket items like jewelry, sneakers, and clothing. I would pay for it in drug money, right? Cash. I would buy sneakers from a sneaker store, retail. I would buy jewelry from friends who had it or jewelry stores. And I would buy clothing off the rack. Didn't really matter. You know, anything under $1,000, right? I would buy a couple of leather jackets. Then I would actually post and sell them online. And the money that I got was obviously digital, and it went into a bank account. Then what I did was created a company, an LLC, and it didn't matter what this LLC was, it just was a way for me to declare income. So then I would get that money and pay taxes on it. Now it looks like I have $10,000 in the bank that I could actually declare as income to the IRS. That was another way that I cleaned my money up. And frankly, if I had had more time, I would have really probably cleaned up most of my money in this form. Now, of course, would it have been possible for the IRS, for the DEA, for the FBI, if they looked into me hard enough to say, wait a minute, he's selling $20,000 worth of sneakers every month and paying taxes on that, but where did he get the money in the first place to buy those sneakers? For sure, and I would not have had an answer for that. That's why if anybody is thinking about laundering money, it's imperative that you're not actively doing the crime which got you the money in the first place. Because then, yes, you could get a fine, you could get even charged with some kind of tax evasion or money crime, but there's no way, if you're not actively committing other crimes that got you that money, that the law can tie those two together and put like a big RICO case on you, because then you're really fucked. And the third and probably best way to launder your money is through cash gifts. And this is something I should have taken advantage of way more when I was a drug dealer, is the cash gift. So this means that somebody can give you a gift in cash of up to $16,000 annually. So without declaring it too. So that means you could have 10 friends that all give you a gift of 15 grand and you've just cleaned up $150,000 right there. So again, I could go to my mother and give her 16,000 in cash. She could write me a check for 16 grand and then I can go put that in my bank account legitimately. And I would probably declare it too. Even though there is no tax burden on it, I would drop it into an LLC or my S Corp or whatever vehicle I'm gonna use to then make that cash look even more legitimate. The other reason that gifts is such a great way to launder money is that because it's money that doesn't have to be declared by the person who's gifting it to you, if you are doing dirt and you get jammed up and arrested, you've got money that's now being held legitimately that it would be much harder to tie into whatever kind of criminal operation you're conducting. So in other words, if your friends and family gift you $150,000 in 1 year, that is completely legitimate and it's not something that they have to declare. So therefore, if I'm an IRS or a DEA agent, I can't go to them and legally lean on them and press them as to how they got that money that they gifted you. That's against the law and something that a good lawyer could beat back. Now, this is something I wish I had taken advantage of way more when I was a drug dealer, but unfortunately, I just didn't know enough at the time. I was 23, 24 years old, and I was kind of just learning on the job, you might say. I was also not surrounded by a bunch of criminals or people who were willing to commit money laundering with me, who were willing to accept a bunch of drug money knowingly and then give it back to me in the form of a cash gift. Hey guys, if you like that video, be sure to check out the full-length episode right here. All right, we'll see you later.